this thing. So I don't know what's going on with
Good evening. Welcome to the Half Moon Bay City Council meeting of June 2nd, 2015. Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Thank you, and would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go to proclamations and presentations, and this evening we have a presentation from the Hatch Elementary School Leadership Club. And they are not here. Next meeting, we'll see them. So we will go to a very timely topic, and we'll have a presentation from Dave Dixon of Coastside County Water, and he can tell us how well we're doing with saving water and probably how we'll have to do.
Members, I'm David Dixon, General Manager of Coastside County Water. The status of water's brief and spare you the usual PowerPoint slides, and then you've got a skateboard thing to get onto, and that's what everybody's interested in. It's really, as you know, it's really a time
Stay for a minute. We'll tell our young people that we're really happy you're here tonight, but this is a public meeting, so let's use some decorum. That means no running. Thanks.
Water District, but I have a couple of pieces of good news that I can bring to the system and have been now in excellent shape. The city's reservoirs are at 70% of capacity. Without asking them from the San Francisco system means that we don't have to impose allocation. That happened was in 1991, I think. So we're really happy that we're not going to be in that situation. And then the second piece of really good news is that our state of California, being one of the 23 out of over 400 utilities with the lowest conservation standard. The governor has asked for 25% reduction. Their percent to reduce 36%. I don't know, it's very challenging. But we end up in the 8%. Conservation tier, and that means that we have to reduce our demand 8% below 2013 levels. And we're pretty much already there. If you look at April of this year, we were 22% below April of 2013. May, we were 47% below May of 2013. And year to date, we're about 16% below. And that's all due to
Chromebox spoken feedback is ready.
Is that we're able to meet the state without having to impose the kinds of water cuts on our businesses that would really hurt the businesses. We don't have to go to the golf course and cut them back. We don't have to go to Bay Cities and private farms and reduce their allocations. We don't have to go to the RIDS district. The possibility that we don't have rain this year, we hope that doesn't happen, but it's not unprecedented. We can increase our level of conservation. We will propose to the district's board at our meeting next week some new regulations that comply with the state's mandates, and the most significant to 2 days a week. If you have an even address, you can irrigate on Monday and Wednesday. If you have an odd address, Tuesday and Thursday kind of harks back to the old gas ration. Higher rates. Our costs are largely fixed. When people use less water, the rates have to go up. So that's a fairly unpopular thing we're learning, but we're kind of used to its unpopularity, and it's necessary for us to run the district. We sent out a notice budget, and will result in about 28% charge to customers. And that's in keeping with the 28% increase that San Francisco is imposing on us.
7 items. Quote,
So that's the water picture, the rate picture.
A permit, quote. What quote?
Somebody asked about our Main Street Bridge project, which will impact the city. We're no longer calling it the Main Street Bridge project. That piece of our pipeline that crosses Pillarcitos Creek. The pipeline to starting from the intersection of Stone Pine Main
Text
Street
area.
go through
6 of 1 quote.
the
3
Menidas
quote.
property along the
CCC
creek,
issue.
tunnel the pipe underneath the creek, come up in back of Zabala House on Parisma Street, run
Question.
the pipe down Parisma Street to Mill,
What?
back up Mill to
Deleted.
Main.
T.
And then
Space.
we will have
O.
completed a project that
E. 8.
it
Space.
has been many years in the making. And we will have replaced the only remaining.
T. D. O. E. Space. T. O. Space. L. O. E. Space. Y. O.
With
A.
a coastal
E.
development
Dot.
permit application and to constructing that project and
Close
completing
comment.
it this
Button.
winter or next spring. And the total cost of that. But that's down a little bit from what we thought it might cost. And I
Low volume toilet, and is there a rain barrel collection rebate?
The district doesn't already rebate, but you can get that from Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency or the county, I think. So you can get a rebate on a rain barrel. We wish it would rain and fill the barrels.
Council, any comments? Well, thank you for coming here, and thank you to all the residents for doing your part to conserve. I think that's been excellent. We've been a model with really trying to find different opportunities, and a lot of people are switching off their lawns too, so that's great. Everyone's pulling together. Thank you. Next, we'll go to mayor's announcements. Just a couple of neighbors down in Pescadero, Thursday, and those will be in October. Their times are from 3 to 7 on Thursdays. And Coastside Land Trust is hosting the 4th annual youth art fair, and they're having an event from 4 to 7, but that art fair will be going on through July. And if you're a fan of chili and you think you have the best chili, you can enter the chili cook-off that's being sponsored by the Happy Bay Yacht Club, and that is and Tip-Top. Okay, Tip-Top is tomorrow night, Wednesday. It starts at 6 o'clock at Cameron's. That's been very successful for years. Sergeant Sanchez has been the one that ran that, and he raises thousands of dollars, I think $12,000, $15,000, and that's a benefit for Special Olympics. So don't make dinner tomorrow night, but only Cameron's and tip your waiters who are officers.
This Saturday, June 6th, is National Trail Day put on by the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. So there's going to be a lot of special events at, up on Montero Mountain and various places in the Bay Area. And if you're interested in hiking or doing trail construction or cleanup and even restoration next to trails, you can go to http://www.parksconservancy.org/events and register for one of the trail projects. That should be pretty fun.
Thank you. We do not have a closed session this evening. Mr. Mueller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I'd like to congratulate and thank the County Water District for the great results on those surveys. And also like to thank San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. So I hear it from my wife every time we drive across. I informed her that they had I think about a $4 billion retrofit of that lake, and they raised the dam in Crystal Springs there, that road is closed, and permitting about $1 million or $2 million to get the frogs to move higher onto the bank, and I can never understand the bank, so they're all surviving. But the San Francisco Garden Snake was up there eating something too, and it's a great story. So to use some for a few moments, and hopefully someone will make a comment. Great job putting that all together with the IDS Society and putting together, I think so. That was a great fun parade to present on behalf of the mayor. I can only thank the city for 60 presenters there. I believe Naomi Patridge was one of the late presenters, but I don't know the total amount. Personally, I did not qualify for one, but that's okay. We did all right there. And then the other one was the award last week with our Pacifica Council Member Patrick's that event up there, and was well attended. Our staff, city manager and deputy city manager attended along with the mayor and others, and so it was well recognized. It's getting down to Pescadero now too, and we definitely are getting the word out. They do have fundraising. I recommend people get involved and watch Pacific Coast Television, and you can audit that off if you want. That's okay. And finally, the kids' graduation next week, and hopefully remind all our wonderful crews and others who graduate to be safe. That's, I think, all my announcements. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Polchak?
So I have just a few additional community activities I was involved with since our last meeting. First and most excitedly was my Sewer Authority Mid-Coast Side meeting, which it's always a good one. So it's a good time. So if you were ever bored, please join us for the Sewer Authority meetings. I joke, but it's actually pretty darn important. As Dixon know, we are on everyone's radar, particularly at SAM. We brought forth some budget amendments, which we will discuss later this evening. So, our general manager at SAM, this is our full-time general manager at SAM, and so the community is aware. We have Clemens Allmeyer, and the second thing I was involved with since our last meeting was the painting of the bunkers out by Smithfield. I was approached by a church group from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they said, we want to do some community service. Your bunkers look like crap. I didn't say crap. And can we want to come down there and help out? And so I want to acknowledge support from DPM and Public Works to provide some recycled paint and get out there. They brought a crew of people, got some other volunteers, myself included, and we put a couple coats of paint in our bunkers. I think it's going to need one more coat than that. But not as pristine as we'd like our bunkers to be, but they're certainly better than they were. So I just really appreciate the support of the community to say, hey, we want to pitch in and step it up and just 3 hours of labor, 40 people, and we painted these three buildings. A lovely hue of green, recycled paint, and we will. But when you see that, it's just a lot there, so we're going to go. And then I missed our last city council meeting, for that I apologize, and I mostly supported what you guys did without me, but I was her and her hard work. She's a national honors student and graduated with a 4.65 GPA. On her birthday, I'm super proud of her. So proud that I forced myself to miss a city council meeting to attend her graduation. Those are all my activities.
You were excused on that. Councilmember Reddick?
Yes, I also attended the Holy Ghost Parade, and Councilmember Kowalczyk has talked about the SAM meetings. I serve as vice chair of SAM, so I'm in the thick of it there with the hiring of new staff and moving forward with recycling water. I think we're making progress there. And we very interesting for nerds like me. So we're going to hear about a new traffic management system, radar system, that's going to make some cities happy and some cities unhappy. How to find out, where we sit on that. So that's an important thing. And then this Saturday, not going to National Trail Day, but I am going to Senior Home Rehab Day for 8 hours on Saturday. And that's sponsored by the Seafood Coast Side. There's a really wonderful event. We're going to do gardening and re-siding and painting and general repair. So a really great event for the organization. And that's my report.
Great, thank you. And I'll go through mine quickly. I participated with the Chamber Rotary Program at high school, and this is where we work each day with graduating seniors on how to succeed in the workplace, everything from resume writing to shaking hands and going through the interview process. It's been really successful, and we spend a week up at the high school. So just want to thank Rotary and Chamber for that opportunity to help out our young graduating seniors. And I'm pleased that Councilmember Reddick and Councilmember Muller with grandchildren joined us at the Holy Ghost Festival, and congratulations again to IBS for putting on a wonderful event. They are one of the oldest IBS festivals in the country. Also, a few weeks ago we heard a presentation from Superintendent Elizabeth Schuck on the Big Lift. There was a formal event in South San Francisco for that event attended by Congresswoman Spears, Senator Jerry Hill, and it was moderated by Lenny Mendonça, who was representing Coastside Community Ed Foundation. And in the big lift, you're going to hear so much more about it. We are fortunate that both Half Moon Bay and Pescadero received a grant, 2 of the 4 grants. And this is because the statistics are stated that they're not as successful in life as one should be. So this program will start with preschoolers, and we'll have it over here at the high school, but it was in that. And I want to thank the Community Ed Foundation, because I believe that tipped it over for them getting that grant is that board personally wrote checks to match a grant for the Silicon Valley Foundation. And that just really showed how committed this community was for helping our young people. So I want to thank them. Also, you're going to hear a lot more about Community Choice Energy. I'm on an advisory committee with representatives from all of the 20 cities in the county. This is an initiative and this is an initiative where we can have renewable, sustainable, alternative energy. It might lower your cost of energy, but we are going to, so everyone's welcome to come to that one. That's announced. Also had the great honor of going to an Eagle Scouts ceremony this weekend from our local Boy Scout projects along the coast, particularly out at the harbor and the trails. New Eagle Scouts are Alex McGregor, Justin Paris, and James Winslow. And I helped our friends over in South San Francisco in a bike pedestrian count, part of a regional effort. They're planning to find opportunities to have more sustainable and safe walkways to schools. Opening of girls softball. I did arrive on time as I was warned by Coach Patridge throughout the first pitch. And speaking of Coach Patridge, it was wonderful to attend the Pacifica Cable TV event that recognized many community members from Pacifica and Half Moon Bay. And I want to, as well as Naomi Patridge, want to call out to Julie Girth, who's very active in AAUW, but she was CUNY-age kids, girls, into the science, technology, and math program. And also to Cleotilda Perez, who has been a champion school fundraiser for many, many years in Pescadero, making over 1,000 tamales at one event to fundraise. Something I failed to mention was the fair starting this weekend, but most importantly on Saturday is Disaster Preparedness Day. So if you go over to the fair, they have all types of information so you can make sure that you're safe in the event of any type of emergency. And lastly, Half Moon Bay was recognized in the Huffington Post in the last few days of being one of 7 best small towns to visit with your families. We were listed along with Carmel, Laguna Beach, Mendocino, Murphy's, and there was one other. But as we all know, it's a great place to live with and play. And that concludes my information for this evening. And Council, do you have anything to bring up? No. And then we'll go now to City Manager reports.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got a couple of updates, and I will ask members of the executive team to assist with. I'll start with the Deputy City Manager, who can provide us an update on the whale that we have very close to our edge on the beach and what we were able to do.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor, members of the council. Alex Goodyear, Deputy City Manager for this great city. Just want to give a quick update. It's one of the unique duties that I've ever had working in city government, of working on what to do with a dead well that washed up just 100 yards south of Kelly Avenue on the city's portion of the beach. What the city did is they worked with National Marine Fisheries and California Stranding Network to find a way of how to dispose of the well. And what they provided was that the best way to do it would be to tow the well out to sea. And so what we did is we contracted out with Vessel Assist out of Santa Cruz, who did a great job. They came, so the well was here on the 19th, washed up ashore. On the 21st, Thursday morning at approximately 11:30 a.m., Vessel Assist was out there with one of their swimmers, and what they do is they tied a rope around the tail of the well, and it was a 14-hour voyage tow all the way out 45 miles off the coast with GPS coordinates given to us by National Marine Fisheries based on wind, currents, and tide to make sure that it's unlikely that the well will reappear on land again. The total cost for the tow was $5,650. We were given a $2,000 grant, so the total cost for the city was $3,650. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I think it's wonderful for your resume, really.
It'll be one of the retirement stories, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you, and now I'd like to ask our Community Development Director to provide a few updates on the general plan, neighborhood pop-up meetings. To start with, and I've got a couple of others.
Good evening, Mayor, excuse me, members of the City Council. Dante Hall, Community Development Director for this great city. The general plan update engagement is underway. We have started our neighborhood listening pop-up sessions, and so far we've met with 3 neighborhoods. We had Highland Park, and according to our sign-in, we had actually about 45 people that showed up. And the neighborhood pop-up sessions are meant to be kind of these casual sessions where people come together. We provide them kind of with a one-page, here's where we are, here's what we're trying to do. Join the conversation. And the thing that we noticed were that people just kind of enjoyed talking to each other. We scheduled actually these sessions from 6 to about 7:30. We had neighbors that were just out there just kind of chatting it up, talking about the future of the city. We heard a lot of stuff that we hadn't heard before. We heard that people weren't really aware that this process was going on and was happening. So we went to Highland Park. We went to Grandview with about 20 participants actually showed up. Sea Haven, we had another 40 participants that showed up. And we have scheduled actually all of the neighborhoods in the city of Half Moon Bay to do the same thing. But again, I think they were well received. I think that there were a lot of people who were really grateful to the city for coming out. You had people helping us set up, helping us tear down, but I think kind of the collaboration was the key. And so the goal here is, first of all, before we get to talking about policy and what we should do, let's just kind of raise our collective awareness of the issues. And that's what we're doing here. We'll continue to do that with our open houses. And we have open house sessions scheduled for June 25th and 27th. We may have some speakers, but again, just helping people to kind of understand what the issues are. Then we'll move into a phase about the workshops, where we start talking specifically about the building blocks, land use, transportation. We start talking about policy issues, and then we try to synthesize that coming around September 10th. But again, raising that awareness, getting people prepared to talk about it, then talking about it. That was the progress. Additionally, just briefly, we've also been started meeting with our stakeholders. We were at the Hatch Elementary School Leadership Club. We did a presentation. We had a booth at the Youth Summit. On the 4th, we're going to Coastside Mothers Club. At June 13th, we will be at the Farmers Market. So we're really trying to get out there and get impressions of what the city should do and handle some of those challenges for the future.
Their efforts, I think they've been well received. I received some comments from community members, and so I just want to thank Zach for a small business resource guide that he and his staff have put together. There were some in the back, and council members have it at their dais. And then also, if you could just give us an update on Montana, the Pillar Cities Creek Bridge project.
Sure, and I believe we provided council with a mock-up. We get questions at our counter from time to time from people who want to start businesses here in Half Moon Bay, mostly small businesses. So what we did was we put together kind of how to start a business and a resource guide for people to start a business here in Half Moon Bay. A lot of the resource information, permitting, as well as some of the state and federal agencies that they can actually get additional help. And the intent is to have several of these available in print in the office, but we would also have an electronic version that people can access and that we can update when information changes. So just another tool to help people to grow our economy. And lastly, Pillar Seals Bridge. Council approved the contract on May 19th, and we have signed all of the agreements, so all of the agreements have been fully executed. And this week, we're going to be meeting with the contractor to talk about the construction schedule, talk about the fabrication of the bridge. Also, there are some details that need to be worked out related to actually demolition and carrying out the old bridge and actually bringing in the new bridge. And so we'll have some additional details after that. Related to permitting, we're continuing to work through the agencies, with the agencies, state and federal agencies, on permitting. And we're still within the window that we've allocated, but we're getting close. We have approximately 75 days left where we really need to get some response and some feedback from some of our state agencies. And we've reached out to Jackie Spears' office, and they're going to try to be helpful with doing that to get them to really prioritize the review and give us an answer within that 75-day period. We bring it up because it's a critical point. If we're not able to get the permits we need, we can't start construction, obviously, until we get the permits in hand. If we're not able to get the permits in hand, that delays the schedule and potentially delays the completion of the bridge, because we just have a very narrow window to actually do the construction the rest of this year. So we'll update you more. I'm sure the city manager will be talking to you more. It's not, again, it's an issue. We want to make sure that the public and the council understands. We're still within the window, but we're getting close. Thank you.
Thank you, Dante, for those updates. And that's the end of city manager, and Councilman Rutherford has something she wanted to bring up.
Well, at their June 17th meeting, the Harbor District is going to be talking about the beach replenishment study for Surfers Beach. And that's necessarily probably going to involve Half Moon Bay to some extent. So I'm just trying a presentation at one of our July meetings and ask for support for some collaboration on the project. But everybody a heads up that will be coming after the Harbor District's next meeting.
Good, thanks. And they can contact the city manager's office for sometimes. Thank you for that. From Mr. Wilkinson.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. Before I start talking about the bus stop issue, I want to thank Mr. Hall especially, as well as the council, for moving forward so quickly, installing the crosswalks and stop signs at the Main Street and Corridor intersection. Really important safety issue there. Appreciate you moving forward. With respect to the issue I raised, as putting an ordinance in effect to prevent. Looking around the state, there doesn't appear to be a state ordinance preventing that, but there are many, many communities throughout the state who have local ordinances. Even the county of Los Angeles has an ordinance preventing smoking at bus stops. And Samtrans, or San Mateo County, also has a restriction in its own rules to prevent smoking. But they say that we don't have any no smoking signs at the bus stops here at Half Moon Bay. So I was hoping that perhaps if we also introduced an ordinance for our community to protect our health with respect to cigarette smoking, any kind of tobacco smoking, that might assist Samtrans in getting their job done in keeping us from having to endure people smoking at the bus stops. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. That was the only card on random public comments. We move now to consent calendar. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve consent calendar items 1, 2, and 3.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Would you like to just hold the Tiger grant? That's item number 3.
Revise the motion, I move to approve consent calendar items 1 and 2.
Second.
So it's going to all in favor. We go down to item number 3 for the comment. Councilor
Tiger grant application, approximately a $4 million grant to the federal government that the coastal trail and repair the other 2 bridges in addition to the Punta Creek Bridge, that would be the Seymour Bridge, potential replacement there, I'm guessing, and the Sweetwater Bridge that's up by Frenchman's Creek. So this is a substantial city manager involved, of great support letters from our legislators, federal and state and county, supporting our grant application. So it's a great job. The only thing I would mention, in addition, it's not too late, is to mention that the coastal trail is actually one of the very few in the country federal millennial trails. And since this is a federal transportation grant, I think it would be wise to just mention in there that this is indeed a federally designated millennial trail. That would be my only suggestion. Otherwise, great job. Thank you.
Thank you. So can we have a motion to approve item number 3?
Motion to approve?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by voice vote. May I have all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 ayes. Thank you. Move now to staff reports. And that next item is number 4, right of entry agreement for skate park project between the City of Half Moon Bay and the Boys and Girls Club of the Coast.
Madam Mayor, it's my pleasure to bring this item to you. It's long and waiting. I'm very excited. I'm going to ask the Deputy City Manager to provide an update.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor, members of the council. Alex Kojiki, Deputy City Manager. Excuse me. The item before you this evening is the right of entry agreement for the skate park project between the City of Half Moon Bay and the Boys and Girls Club of the Coast Side.
Let's show that.
So just a little background regarding the existing park that is adjacent to us here off of Kelly Avenue. The existing park was built in 1998, and it was in partnership and collaboration with the Creo Unified School District, Boys and Girls Club, and the city. What it basically did was dedicate a location for skateboarders to have a safe place to skateboard instead of skating on Main Street. In December 2013, the city was approached by the Boys and Girls Club with interest of there's a new gym that they have into an agreement with the Creo Unified School District to fund where the current skate park is located and where the tennis courts are. So that project is well underway. And so they wanted to find a new home for the skate park. And so at a joint Recreation Committee and City Council meeting back in December of 2013, the idea was first brought up. The direction given by the council at the time was more. So in partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, what we had is the location of the new park. That would be in the north parking lot here adjacent to the community center, so right behind me. And what is adjacent to the community center is also nearby the sheriff's station as well and by the schools, and it still remains in the downtown conveniently. We brought the item back to the City Council at a May 6, 2014 meeting, and at that meeting, there was a discussion of whether or not to have a permanent facility or just moving the ramps. So the permanent facility would be a concrete and ground facility, and then the other one would be just moving the existing ramps that were at the skate park over here. The council gave direction to staff that they were okay with the location, being adjacent to the community center, and looking at a permanent facility. The Boys and Girls Club then teamed up with Zach Wormhut, who is a professional skate park architect out of Santa Cruz, who started working on designs. And so the project itself is a 7,000 square foot park. It's structurally engineered, poured into place concrete. There'll be various terrain types of bowls, ramps, stairs, and ledges. This park will accommodate beginning through advanced skaters. There will be spectator areas at the entrance and along the skating surface perimeter. The non-skating improvements is that outside of the skate surface area includes barrier fencing, sidewalks, and parking. The project was based on input came through 2 different community workshops, and the estimated construction duration is 3 to 4 months. So the budget and funding. So the Boys and Girls Club of the Coast side is estimating that the project's cost is going to be $480,000, but this does not include the in-kind donations that they also have. The city's contribution is $100,000, which was budgeted in this current fiscal year's budget and was approved by the council last year. And it includes the land as well that the city is putting up for the project. The club's contribution is $380,000 in in-kind donations of time, materials, and equipment from local contractors and community members. And the club will be responsible for any additional funding needed for the project. So for public participation and outreach, there were over 7 different meetings prior to this evening to discuss the skate park and get input if anyone wanted to speak out. The was approved on January 27th at the Planning Commission meeting. And then before you this evening, venture agreement between the city and the Boys and Girls Club. And I'm just going to go over a couple of highlights of that agreement, the main highlights. The city's contribution is limited to $100,000. The club is responsible for all other project costs. The club will assign their rights to a performance bond to the city. The club will oversee the project's construction and ability during the project, and then the city will take over liability once the project is complete. Recommendation to approve the right of entry agreement for the skate park project between the city of Half Moon Bay and the side. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Alex. Council members, we have several cards. I'd like to hear them first. All right. And you get 3 minutes to speak. First up is Alan O'Driscoll, followed by Steve Bassett.
Hello, Madam Mayor, council members. I just want to tell you how appreciative we are. I'm with the Boys and Girls Club. I'm also with the Half Moon Bay. I believe this vote is very important tonight and that it sets the tone for this and future partnerships with the Boys and Girls Club and the city of Half Moon Bay to build facilities for our youth on the coast side. I want to thank you for your generous donation of money and land, and can't tell you how much I support this project, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And I would ask the audience just to hold your applause for the end of the evening. Thank you. Steve Bassett, followed by Pam Fisher.
Thank you very much, council members. And I just would like to reiterate what Alan said so eloquently. Thank you for the appreciation that we all feel for this opportunity. I think that we're on the cusp of doing something that will have such a lasting and positive impact in our community. But I also want to thank something rather special that Alex brought up during his presentation, and that was the discussion of the 2 options of the skate park. When we came to council, there was the bare bones utilitarian skate park, which would have been truly a lot cheaper for all of us, but the other option was, that was actually raised by the council itself. Let's do something rather significant. Let's do something special. I can't remember the exact words or who exactly said it, but someone mentioned, let's build something. Okay, great. Let's build something of consideration and care for our youth. And I think that, in fact, that evening we stopped calling it a skate park. We started calling it a skate plaza because in Zach Warmhut's mind, the architect, he started coming up with such beautiful designs. And I think it's really going to be a jewel for kids and generations of kids afterwards can really enjoy. So thank you, because that's the impression that you're leaving here tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Pam Fisher, followed by Lieutenant Patridge.
Pam Fisher, 659 Highland Avenue, here in Acton Bay. As I tried to make clear in February at the Planning Commission meeting, I am a supporter of the skate park. Since most serious accidents, skateboarding accidents occur, about 70% of them occur on the streets and in traffic, and most of these accidents occur because of collisions with cars. I'm very happy to support the construction of a self-contained skate park. Concerns about how the kids are going to get there, and as there may still be some risk or to prevent, we should engage in some kind of public education as to what to watch out for, and informing the public and drivers about really safe lives. My concern is not about the construction of the park, and it really looks fantastic. My concern is about health and safety. I'm a mother. I have 2 teenage boys. I'm also a speech pathologist. I have closed head injuries. One in particular from a skateboarding accident in the woods on dirt. And it was a long time for recovery, well over a year, and probably at about 90%. You have arms and legs will heal, but brain injuries closed head injuries are extremely serious. So again, my concern, and I tried to bring it up before, was about safety equipment being required. I'm a bit concerned about young skaters and the absolute necessity to have older skaters mentoring them. So I would hope that the Boys and Girls Club does something formal about introducing younger skaters to older skaters so that they can be mentored. Again, as a professional, I cannot speak anymore to how devastating a head injury is. It changes your life forever. So I've got some questions about more the running of the park. Who will be monitoring the use of safety equipment? Why is the city accepting full liability, and should there be some shared effort in terms of buy-in for safety by the Boys and Girls Club? What about parking? These are questions that people have had, and I've agreed to bring them forward. Again, operating hours, lights, music, and impacts on other businesses, like, in particular, the Rose Mill Inn, whose west rooms are directly facing the park. So concerned about permitting lights on the project. So at any rate, I would love to know when these issues are going to be discussed internally by the Boys and Girls Club, or to ask the public to weigh in on some of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Naomi Patridge, followed by Lori Phillips.
Naomi Patridge, 47 Laurel Avenue. I just want to reiterate what Marina said about the city of Half Bay being one of the 6th or 7th most friendly children's cities. And the reason why we are is basically because of the projects that you people are approving and the things that we are doing for the youth of the community. And the skateboard park is a major part of that. And I want you guys to remember that. The kids come first. And I understand Ms. Fisher's concerns about safety, but you know what? That park has been there since 1998. Is that correct, Ed? And we have not had one injury there. So the kids are very careful, and I think we need to give credit to the kids and not try and foresee all these damages that are going to happen. They're not going to happen. They haven't happened over there since 1998, so hopefully you approve this project.
Thank you. Marty Phillips, followed by David Grant.
Ms. Mayor, distinguished City Council, thank you very much for moving forward on the skate park. I am the co-founder of the Half Bay Surf Club out of Half Bay High School, and affiliated with the wonderful Boys and Girls Club. Those of you that know me know the term that I use a lot is shared positive experience, and this community, Half Bay, Greater Coastside, really has taken this It's part of what's in our thread as a community. When I mean shared positive experience, that means the kids, their parents, their community, the school. When I look at the skate plaza, I think that defines exactly what shared positive experience means. We are going to have this beautiful skate plaza right in front of our sheriff's department, the school. It's got a viewing area. One thing that we have experienced with our surf club is, yes, they do mentor each other. When you put these kids together, we have older kids surfing with younger kids. You're going to see the same thing with the skaters. You're going to see parents probably out there too, hopefully well padded. But anyway, so again, I just really commend this council on moving forward with such a wonderful project. It's going to be a real sense of pride for this community and the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. David Grant.
Madam Mayor and City Council members, I'm David Grant, local surfer and skateboarder of the coast side. I'm highly in favor of this skate park. I believe that it really brings the community together. And what you said about the kids mentoring the younger kids, I believe that's very true. I believe, from what I've seen, a lot of the younger kids really gaining a lot more knowledge of how to act, how to really behave around the skate park, and I feel like that's really important to the kids now and future generations. And yeah, I'm highly in favor of this park. I think it's going to be able to live in. So thank you very much.
I'll talk to them ahead of time. So could we have Devin, Gavin, and Dempsey come up together? They have something important they want to share with you. You pull the microphone down to you. Okay, and which one are you?
Devin.
And who's next to you?
Gavin.
And where do you go to school?
Hatch.
Okay, what do you want to tell us?
Well, all the people that aren't in favor of this, would you rather want people skating on the streets, or would you rather want them in an enclosed area where it's safe? I mean, seriously, people.
Thank you, young man. Very well said. That puts some cards on that. Oh, one more person. I didn't see it. Yes.
Skaters could ride in a space operating. We should have skaters in a place where you can ride and where there's
Thank you. That concludes our cards there, and Ed and I had a conversation, and Naomi was involved in it. And it was when we were first talking about putting the skateboard park there. Now, if you could walk over at the shopping centers by skateboarders all over. And this thing that happened, that was it. It was getting yanked. So it's a credit that there's 30-year-old, 31-year-old young men who were 15, 16, behaved themselves all these years, that we've come to this point. I mean, never in my life would I have thought people would have donated and we would have built a skateboard plaza that cost $500,000. That definitely would not have been a conversation 15 years ago. But it's really a credit to those young students that behaved themselves, and really, it was a bumper sticker that went around at the time. It was like, skateboarding is not a crime. And certainly everyone has proven that, because you had people invest, and certainly the council has contributed $100,000 to this project to get us where we are today. So it's a credit to you who are in the audience tonight. Council members, do you have additional comments? Councilmember Muller?
I think without a doubt, this is definitely part of the community. Again, 30, 40, 50 years ago, we would have not even know what a skateboard is. And I see one there, and the shirt probably in the 60s, the young speakers didn't wear up there. We probably knew about those things. But I think there's also some very serious questions that need to be answered, and I believe today Councilmember Reddick and myself talked to staff, and we did get responses on it, so she might be able to share those later. But I'm definitely 100% in support personally. Hopefully they'll be able to come over and buy some fresh fruit and vegetables Saturday morning. So, they can put a pumpkin on their head for that extra protection in there. But I think it is all about community, and it's amazing the in-kind donation from some of you in this room and other people. I think that's what makes the Coast Side Award winning, by people stepping up and not giving up and continuing to give up their time to generations. And I just hope all of you young individuals here will be up here in a leadership position someday to continue to make Apple Bay great.
I had asked staff earlier today about the liability aspects, the city's liability, and I was just wondering if staff could just tell that story for the public. I know that Pam Fisher alluded to liability and safety issues, so I'm satisfied, but I think it would be nice just to summarize it for the public. Yeah. And the issue of hours and lighting.
Councilman Brett. There is a specific statute in the government, or sorry, in the state law, not in our local ordinances, that allows local municipalities to construct skate park facilities, BMX facilities, all sorts of recreation lawsuit from injuries. Take advantage of that immunity, erect signs that require it. Our local youth can put on helmets and pads, have an ordinance in place that we already do, and that provides for statutory immunity. Recreational trails. So the government wants to incentivize local governments, the state government, I should say, wants to incentivize local government to create opportunities for citizens to enjoy life, and that's what we're doing.
Thank you. And I thought Pam Fisher raised some good issues about, I think it's good, the mentoring idea, older skaters mentoring younger skaters, perhaps, training class. I think skateboarded every day during the summer, going down big hills, I'd like to tell you. So I think this is a ring it, and I want to commend staff. I thought the agreement is the taxpayer, so I think we're really covered there. We're really good about that last year, but I'm all in favor of it.
A couple of things. I have the same liability question, so thank you for answering that. Basically, my understanding is liability is because it was, so it's no. I'm really happy. I participated in several of the workshops, and one of the things I was happy about is the idea of having a signature element at the skate park. And the signature element with the moon, the crest is pretty cool. And I think it stands out among all the skate parks you might see. It's very unique, which is excellent. To the comment of when are we going to discuss safety equipment, monitoring, parking, hours, lights, music. We've had 7 meetings on this topic, and we've discussed those and resolved those issues. So, and I'm comfortable with all those. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1 month of my city council compensation, and I'm going to buy skateboard decks, and I'll donate those to the Boys and Girls Club
He's not even up for election either.
I made the same promise last year. But I will definitely make that happen. And I agree with Gavin, and although he left, I think he made excellent points. And with that, I'd like to make a motion, and I move to approve a right of entry agreement for the skate park project between the city of Half Moon Bay and the Boys and Girls Club of the Coast Side.
Is there a second? Okay, I will second it. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote on this?
Yes.
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 Yes. You can cheer now. Okay, so we have item number 5, this is to approve a resolution adopting the fiscal year budget 2015 to 16. That's the operating and capital budget. And we have our finance director that will talk to us about this evening.
Madam Mayor, Council, I'm Julia Clark, Finance Director. Item before you tonight is a formal adoption of the fiscal year 2016 operating and capital budget.
They're closing the door. The two skateboarders.
Tonight's meeting is the sixth public meeting about the fiscal year 15-16 budget that appears on the Council's agenda. Earlier meetings included an overview of the budget process, budget calendar, financial outlook and budget assumptions. At the budget study session in May, Council reviewed and by motion approved the fiscal year 15-16 proposed budget with additional directions to be included in the final budget document, which is presented to you tonight for formal adoption. City Council held a budget study session on May 3. The outcomes of the study session are listed on this slide. At the study session, City Council discussed staff recommendations for fiscal year 15-16 operating and capital budget, identified approximately 2.6 million in program enhancements that we will go over on the next slide in details, and City Council also provided staff with policy direction for proceeding with preparation for the budget document, which is before you for adoption tonight. After the study session, staff made some additional changes to the budget. We consolidated funding sources for the new library project in one single source. So now all the funds appeared in one library capital fund. This budget was originally split between two funds, public facilities and library capital. We also transferred Glen Creek property value of 8.9 million from general fund to the newly created land assets fund. And this fund now accounts for both Beechwood and Glen Creek land assets. And we also made some other adjustments and corrections, most of the cleanup nature throughout the document. I just want to quickly go over what transpired from the budget study session. Again, Council identified approximately 2.6 million in service enhancements. Staff included all of them in the budget. This budget additions are listed on the slide by the funding source. As you can see, general fund accounts for additional 2 million transfer to the new library capital fund, as well as additional appropriation of 50,000 for Boys and Girls Club, additional 10,000 for recreation committee to fund concerts in the park, 8,000 for Chamber of Commerce, and additional appropriation of 1,500 for Village Coastside. The appropriation of the city-wide sidewalk assessment project is included in the Streets Capital Fund and will be funded from available fund balance in this fund. Council also added 2 new capital projects to the fiscal year 15-16 CIP program. The first one is a synchronization of light study along Highway 1 and right-hand turn signal at Highway 1 and Kelly with an estimated cost of 40,000 each. These projects were added to the traffic mitigation fund and also will come out of the available fund balance in this fund. Additional appropriation of 300,000 for the Keeper Ditch project is included in the storm drain capital fund. And finally, an additional allocation of 85,000 for the city's website project is additional funds in the equipment fund to sponsor this project. In details about general fund revenues and expenditures. The general fund revenues remain unchanged at 14.1 million. Expenditures showed slight increase due to the program investments that were added to general fund budget. And the good news is highlighted in green in front of you. The city brings in significantly more in general fund revenues than it spends on operations, leaving the city with a structural surplus of over 4 million. There were no changes in net operating transfers. This figure remains the same as we presented to you back in May, but the capital transfer out figure increased quite significantly to 4.2 million, and this is primarily due to additional 2 million transfer for the new library capital, new library construction that the city approved in May. Because of this structural surplus, only 1.2 million of this 2 million transfer to the library will be coming from the unappropriated general fund balance line in front of you. So the 1.2 million. Now let's take another look at the general fund balance column, which is the last column of this table in front of you. The beginning of the general fund is projected at almost 8.6 million as of July 1. After funding all services and capital projects, including this 2 million transfer to library capital fund, we expect to take additional 1.2 million from the undesignated general fund balance. The total ending general fund balance is projected to be close to 7.4 million at the end of the year, as shown in the first red circle on the slide. The Council previously adopted a policy to commit 30% of operating expenditures as a contingent to the commitments to Measure J and Main Street bridge funding. Yet, even after taking into account all these committed reserves, general fund reserve, as shown in the second red circle on the slide. And again, this 1.9 million reserve. I'd like to reiterate the staff recommendation. Staff recommends that the City Council approves the attached resolution approving the fiscal year 15-16 operating and capital budget. And I would like to take a moment to thank the city manager, the entire management team, and the finance staff for the time and commitment to developing this budget document. And it was truly a teamwork effort, and I really appreciate everybody's input. And I also would like to thank the City Council for your continued support in making Huffman Bay financial stable and balanced community. This concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Yulia. Council, any questions, comments? We do have one speaker, and that is Pam Fisher.
Pam Fisher, 659 Highland Avenue. I'm going to ask for something. And Councilman Muller actually was singing the praises of PCTV, and I'd like to agree with him. I also want to thank John Olam and his brother for doing the video that they do. In the spirit of open, inclusive government, I'm requesting that the City Council examine the budget to try and set aside sufficient funds to be used to video and or live stream the Planning Commission meetings. Last week was an excellent example of why this is needed. There was a very important Harbor District meeting that I had to attend, as well as a need to cover the Planning Commission meeting to report back to a group. Well, I made it to the last half hour of the Planning Commission meeting when most of the business was done and the speakers had already spoken. The audio recording is well-intentioned, but practically it is very difficult to listen to. It is very difficult to tell with four men, who's talking. At any rate, it really is not a user-friendly planning commission, which is critical. I'm told that this is work. So I would like you to consider to not have quite as healthy a reserve. I know that, I don't know what PCTV charges, I know what this costs John to do every time he's video. Really would address the issue of open government, transparency, and public involvement. So I ask you to please look at the commission meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was all the cards on the budget for this item.
Work, I know at the last time you presented, you were in the hot seat for the first time, and you had a screen behind you, audience in front of you, council. I just want to point out the obvious because I think it's important, which is that we moved a significant amount of financial resources to important projects, important areas to help make our, just to help improve the quality of life of others for various studies and other initiatives in our community, and still are at $1 million above our required reserves. And that is not by accident. You think back a number of years ago, and I tell this story a lot, so I'll try and be brief, but a number of years ago, we didn't have a dime, right? I was getting volunteers to paint red curb because we wanted to save money for fire lanes, and so to be in this position is really one of these resources. And then the city staff, council, everybody for getting us to this position. And I have no questions on the budget, and I'm going to support it.
Councilman Miller?
Thank you. Again, when you put this complicated package of municipality government budgets together, it takes a lot. And it not only takes a lot of the staff and individuals and all the departments and time, but it takes equipment. And I know we've all looked at infrastructure, no matter where we're talking about infrastructure, and I believe that we're probably suffering a lot of infrastructure in our city hall, unfortunately. So I'm hoping, Councilman Ruddick and I discussed a little bit today regarding the website and the equipment funding, that we're going to be able to meet these needs, because he and the public understand better what we're all trying to do, but it's going to be a challenge, and you just can't support that we're going to be trying to, not that fast, I'm sure. But again, I want to compliment the whole community and all of our businesses and towns for our supporters are all of our businesses and hotels and restaurants and Hasek Hardware and Safeway and New Leaf, and those are the ones that help us pay the bills, and our visitors. Fortunately, we let them off the hook a little bit next year, but at least we gave it a try for a few years, and it really did help us turn the corner. So I'm in total support of the budget. It is a lot of work. We have so many different funds in there that people don't understand in real life, and I don't even understand it with all the years at times, but I think everyone's done a great job through all the individuals in the building, so I definitely in favor of, I think, a great budget for our upcoming year.
Councilman Red?
Yes, I'd like to commend Yulia and the city manager and the rest of the staff for answering the very thorny litany of questions, many questions, detailed, thorough answers that met the test. So thank you for that. And actually, Mr. Abalovi has asked me to read a statement. He could not be here tonight because of a sick child. So if you don't mind, I just have a quick message to read, and that is, I'm sorry I'm not able to be at tonight's meeting, but work done over the last month's meeting. One of the frustrations that I and many others had, but this past month that remained in the budget. This was a job very well done by all of you, and I am very grateful for your efforts. He was very generous over the last 6 months, concerned about, I know we're, so there are things that I really like. I think staff are, difficult, and I'm, very grateful. So, but the budget is a whole package, and I'm going to be supporting it. Hopefully we'll be having quarterly. With that, I'm prepared to make a yes vote.
And perhaps it would cost to have out in the future, because we have some.
Planning Commission meetings are so important is because critical development decisions are made there that don't necessarily come to the city council unless they're appealed to the city council. So really important decisions are being made out of view of the general public. Certainly some things are covered in the newspaper, many things are not. So I have a problem in the future. So.
This is wonderful for the community. I think we've done a good job at trying to build up the economic development. A lot of different steps I've taken, and I think we're seeing the fruits of that. So there's creation and having more money into our infrastructure. So I'm glad we're at this. So I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resolution adopting the fiscal year 2015-16 operating and capital budget for the city of Half Moon Bay.
It's been moved and seconded. May we have roll call?
Councilmember Muller?
We have a budget. Thank you.
Also for your leadership with this about the future, and I also like hours. Her mom was visiting and gave maybe too much information. Mom was visiting.
Hello, Mr. Engel. Oh, Mr. Hall.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Zoning standards is really kind of broken to enforce the established City Council, the Planning Commission, to what this city aspires to be, economic development. Make recommendations that are in line with your policies and the goals that you guys have set for. So try to let you have on the city and to the policies and goals that you've set. The item before you tonight was revealed as part of our review. What you decide to do tonight could have economic implications for the city, and we just want to make the City Council aware of that. So we have a brief presentation for you. Bruce Ambo, who is our Planning Services Manager, will briefly walk you through, and we'd be happy to answer the questions.
Thanks, Dante. Mayor and Council, and Bruce Ambo. As Dante indicated, let me try to get this. At any rate, these are regarding the commercial visitor serving district, zoning district development standards. And in 1996, the City Council adopted ordinance amendments that did three things. They limited the allowable building height from 35 feet to 28 feet. They introduced and limited the floor area ratio to 0.05 of floor area to 1.0 of site area. And then they limited the lot coverage to 50% for a single-story building and 35% for a two-story building. So these amendments happened in 1996, and one of the things we found out was that, as Dante indicated, in the course of doing business, we found that these were actually never submitted to the Coastal Commission for certification. So that means that these ordinance amendments are not in effect right now. And so what we have done is we've converted, in terms of the operation of the department, we've reviewed the existing requirements that under the current standards, there are no limitations on floor area, and there are no council to hopefully clear this up. Sorry, wrong way here. One of the other things that we found out when we were doing it is for 3 stories. And that conflicted with these amendments in the sense that 28 feet would preclude a 2-story or a 3-story building. And what this really means in terms of the operation of the ordinance is that reducing the building height to enact those older standards would preclude new prototype hotel development that's consistent with the industry standards. And one of the other things that we wanted to mention is that the visitor serving commercial zone is actually one of the base districts for hotel development. So in other words, that's where we want to have hotels developed in the community, and that is one of the primary zones for hotel use. So in conclusion, we're recommending that the City Council give us direction to update the current municipal code to the pre-1996 development standards, or the other option to initiate ordinance amendments. So that would take an action by the council, and that would mean that it would initiate, in order to initiate the ordinance amendment, should give us staff direction. We go to the planning commission. Planning commission develops recommendations that come to the city council for a subsequent meeting. Hopefully, those codify, address your concerns and codify those amendments, and ultimately would be amended at the city. Otherwise, you development standards. So our recommendation actually is to go with the existing standards that we've been using, the pre-1996 standards. That means it would allow a 36-foot building height. And there are no Florida area regulations, and it wouldn't limit the building area to lot coverage standards. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I know that's a lot of moving parts, but it's one of these things that we found out later on. We weren't quite sure what happened when we adopted these ordinances in '96, but they're on the books now, and this is the direction that we're recommending.
Thank you, Bruce. And I'm sure it's deja vu for you, Councilmember Reddick, to see this ordinance from 20 years ago. It looks like it was typed. I don't know if they had computers then. Council, questions, comments on this? We do. We have one speaker on this, Roy Truitt, who has information about the development standards, and Roy is with the chamber.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. I've been a sales manager on a contract basis for the Half Moon Bay Chamber of Commerce, CBB, and Half Moon Bay. I've been in the hotel business 38 years. I opened hotels in New Orleans, Chicago, Atlanta. That would make Half Moon Bay look like a megatropolis. Suites as regional director of operations. I had 54 Hilton Santa Clara from the ground up, and was the general manager there for the last 12 years in the Midwest. Issues that are facing you today. So I've been in discussion to just start a hotel and have a call to determining if they moved us up to number. They just went through hotels and get back. It takes time to that out of the ground. Once everything coastal communities and coastal coast and make 35 fleet. You put the mechanical on, that's the fire safety. You've got, so the brand 200 to 200 grand. That brand, 200 unskilled employees that now go on, but my time's limited.
Comments on this? 6-foot limit.
I'm happy to launch the 615 pages. Not much has changed. The existing location has been permitted, or whenever they get their financials together, I guess. So that's one area. The I guess an Anchorage restaurant, and one other one. Maybe it's just those two. It's hard to tell from the map. So I'm just wondering, like, what precipitates this discussion now? Like, are we expecting hotel applications? Are we expecting not just applications for maybe the site by Surfers Beach or renovations? Are we expecting people to come forward with PUD applications that include hotels? I'm just wondering why now and why the presentation by Mr. Truitt.
I can answer your question. You know, this was brought to our attention when we did our analysis of one of the hotel proposals that you mentioned. That was the Cameron's Inn, and we found that our existing code mentions 28 feet, and that's the code that's on the city's webpage. So it was mistakenly put up there, and we found that out. And coincidentally, we also found that the other 3 hotels that were Cameron's Inn was approved, and then the other one up by Ramada Inn, all of those were approved subsequently to those ordinance amendments, and they disregarded the amended ordinance height. So they allowed those in the staff analysis. The building height was shown as 36 feet as allowable. So we just wanted to bring this to your attention because we've got an inconsistency that just needs to be corrected.
Yes, Point well taken. I don't know why this was never submitted to the Coastal Commission for certification. Zoning amendment, LCP amendment, and it was actually recommended by former Councilmember Jerry Donovan, and it was approved by Councilmember Naomi Patrick. So I think that's all, pretty staff reports. Lengthy, detailed, notification, oppose them every step of the way through a very detailed legal process, and then didn't submit it for certification. I understand that. So I do have a concern about the alternatives as presented by staff. I did send an email to City Attorney Kandati today asking why would we have to go back to the Planning Commission if we want to proceed with certification? And you probably saw his response, which basically says that apparently the Coastal Act says, or Coastal Commission guidelines say 4 years of council approval or something. I don't know what the consequences if you don't do that. But he suggested that one alternative we can consider is, since it's been approved by the Planning Commission and Council already, to send it on to Coastal Commission for certification. With probably a good idea is to contact Commission staff first and check out their take on the whole issue. But you can certainly, if somebody comes forward with a new project, we can certainly proceed with certification and revisit it during the general plan update process. But I think it's better to be protective of view sheds, to constrain massing of large buildings. I've always been a big fan of guarding against what I call the Acapulco effect, which is having hotels on the coast, many-story hotels, blocking off the views of the water from the residential neighborhood. So the hotels block off the views. Across the road, you have the citizens in their homes, and they can't see the water. So I'm against that process, and I think this was a good balance. Sensitive development that protects coastal resources, and in fact, this land use designation is consistent with coastal resource protection and neighborhood context. So it seems to me the variances too, if where view shed is not a problem, like for instance the Cameron's Hotel is going to the proposed 36-foot to make sense, but considering that we may get applications from, for specific plans for planned unit development properties that offer view sheds to the water, proceed with certification of the existing. So I would recommend, I would be prepared to make a motion that the application process, but it has to go all the way through the Planning Commission and then the City Council again. Mess with this since it's been through a process. Planning Commission approved it, Council approved it, and not a whole lot has changed.
Thank you for your comments. Yeah, I don't know why 20 years ago this didn't get submitted, so it's interesting how you found it.
And for signing this 20 years ago. Specifically, I'm looking at the map, and it's kind of vague, to be kind. Could you please elaborate on the specific areas? It looks like there's very minor areas covered by this.
Right.
So I'm looking at to the northernmost area. There's a little wedge of something, and I don't know where that is. I read all the attachments, but it used. It's interesting. The old staff reports anchored locations based on names of businesses that no longer are there. Although I do remember the anchorage and the diner. That was there. So I need some clarification of more specifically where are I think are there 4 areas,
Right,
and where are those?
The northernmost one is by I think it's called the Custom House Hotel by the harbor. That's right by Surfers Beach. That's the northernmost one. And then as you're moving further...
So there's an existing property there.
Right.
Does that include other areas? Like, I want to see a map, I guess. Maybe I want to understand. So there's an existing property there. Does that include other areas that are not developed on either side of it or near it? And then I know I put me on the spot with the remaining 3 areas. I wanted to know
then we can come back with a map of that strip where there's an existing hotel built there now. That was at one time the Ramada Inn. The other, there's a little L-shaped piece of property. So it's a pretty limited area of commercial visitor serving. It's pretty small, pretty limited, and not a lot of undeveloped land.
Because we certainly don't want to put anything on the bluff tops. Yeah, we don't want to build anything on bluff tops.
So the southernmost one, that's south of Cameron's, that is undeveloped currently, that's an undeveloped.
So I can show you a map that I have, if that helps you at all. It's way south over by Miramontes. Miramontes Point Road, just north of there.
Okay. So, Councilmember Kowalski, are you suggesting we continue this?
Yeah, I want to continue this. I want to continue it. I'm also inclined to operate the way we've been operating for the last 20 years because it's sort of been working. That's sort of my premise. Even though, and if we're going to move forward with the decisions that were made in '96, I want to evaluate them a little more. They were applicable in '96. So I want to validate that before I say yes, let's move forward with that. But minimally, I want to Google Earth the 4 areas, and I see the beach house property on one side has been reviewed, on the other side seems urgent to if this decide today there's nothing. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, and look of the, but there are probably locations that we are going to need, whether it's on the west side of Highway 1, but I think the opportunity we would have to look at it. We have to share with the public this evening that they're going to come to town next week. It's going to be years and years in the planning process, so that's my opinion on it. I just don't want us to get in a predicament with whatever y'all been doing, and I don't know if that's a thing that could take a half floor off the building or something, so I just want to make sure we're covered. The last few years, the council feels they need to look
With an updated map, and I agree, because this was ready for submittal 20 years ago and it didn't get understand.
Madam Mayor, if you'd like, what we can do, we're squirming around here trying to figure out, this doesn't have Wi-Fi, unfortunately, we're trying. If you'd like to, not that old computer. If you'd like, we do have it here, we could go try and print it and bring some copies while you entertain the next couple of items, and we'll come back to this item if you'd like.
I don't, respectfully. I think let's prepare a map and then also look at the items that were, I want to look at what was recommended 20 years ago. And again, visitor serving does not mean hotels. We had a speaker about hotels, but it's visitor serving. It could be a lot of different things, and the staff reports refer to those. I want to, I guess, let's take our time and prepare those maps, those outlines. Even if we looked at a Google map, we would be mostly accurate about what the boundaries were for these areas, but I want to be accurate with that. So, and again, I don't think there's any urgency with this.
I would like to potentially augment your proposed motion, if you're going to propose a motion, to the sunset on accepting certifications at the same time of preparing for another meeting to explore that.
I think that's appropriate background.
All right, so council has direction. Okay, thank you. We'll move along to item number 7. And that is a discussion of the sewer-related coast budget.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor, members of the council. Alice Kojikin, Deputy City Manager. The item before you is the fiscal year 2015-2016 combined budget. So just a little bit of background. So So the Sewer Authority of Coastside is a joint powers authority with 3 member agencies, the Montero Water and Sanitary District, the Granada Community Services District, and the City of Half Moon Bay. Each year we adopt 3 separate budgets. There are different formulas for each of these budgets, and on the slide that is in front of you this evening is the allocation formulas. So the 3 budgets are operations and maintenance, collections and projects. With operations and maintenance, it's the percentage of flow, so it's how much flow goes through the treatment plant. There's a meter over there, and so based on all the waste that goes into the plant, 49.7% of that waste was from Half Moon Bay. Then there's the collections, and that is where they maintain and operate our 35 miles of sewer system throughout the city limits, or almost throughout the city limits. There's Frenchman's Creek in the northern portion that's serviced by Granada, so just a small amount. And it's based on basically the maintenance workers, the amount of hours that they spend in the city limits working on different hotspots and different maintenance items, and that's 36.32%. And then the third budget is projects, and this is kind of gray area with the JPA agreement that we have. It's come before us as capitalized maintenance, but I just put it in parentheses as projects so you guys can keep track of that as well. And typically that's 50 pipes over at the Sewer Authority. So the Sewer Authority Coastside proposed fiscal year 15-16 budget totals 5.466. The operations and maintenance budget is 3.247 million. The collections budget is 982,000, and then capitalized maintenance projects. What Half Moon Bay has to fund for next year? So the operations and maintenance, that's at 49.7% of the total. For collections, that's based on that 36% of the time. And then capitalized maintenance, because they're calling it capitalized maintenance. And what's unique about this is coming out of the monthly installments or assessments that the city will be paying. The other 2 are at SAM. So here's a little chart. In the first set of boxes, if you wish I had a laser on. You'll see the SAM percentage increase on the bottom, so you'll see operation maintenance, that budget's going up by 2.9%, collections is going up 10%. With operations, maintenance, and collections, the main driver of this is the addition of staff and salary increases over at SAM. It's not so much as, I would say, chemicals or any of that. Pretty much that's kind of stayed relatively flat. There might be just a little bit, but the significant increases that you see year over year is typically based on personnel costs. Half Moon Bay's increase, you'll see at the bottom of the chart, it's 4.5% for operations maintenance, 17%. So the joint powers agreement that the 3 member agencies operate in, there's a gray area of projects versus maintenance, and that just keeps, and so there's been, sometimes we don't see eye to eye as agencies as to what are projects and what are capitalized maintenance. So typically, you'll see the list of, it'll say project costs, or I put project costs, but it's referred to at the Sewer Authority as capitalized maintenance costs. So it's a $1.237 million budget, and the proposed projects, the first big one is basically $1,050,000 project for the replacement of 2,350 linear feet of 12-inch diameter interpipe pipeline system, force main between Montero and the Ballimore pump stations. There's also replacing a pump at the Montero pump station and replacing air valves along the Montero and Princeton portions of the IPS. The second project is the update of the recycled water study from 2008. That's $15,000. The third item is CEQA permitting for the recycled water project, and that's $150,000, and hopefully it'll be reimbursable to SAM by Ocean Colony Partners and the Coastside County Water District, and hopefully there will be some grant funding as well with that project. And then $25,000 for a comprehensive hydraulic modeling service for the intertype pipeline system. That's the 8 miles to the north that can connect the 3 different pump stations and that pipe system all the way to the treatment plant. There's an additional $20,000 that's also budgeted in the regular budget, so it's a total of $45,000 for that project. But this will let us know, I believe, probably good. That covers all to know highest risk first and work their way back, so that would be very helpful. And I believe that was brought to us by Half Moon Bay directors as well, pushing that item forward at SAM. So city staff recommends to approve the listed projects as they are very important to protect the environment from possible future sanitary sewer overflows. Although the IPS project should be a project, not capitalized maintenance, and that's due to the useful life of that type of infrastructure has come and gone, and for the JPA agreement, the city's on the hook for the useful life of the infrastructure, and so now we're going ahead and putting whole new pipe, and you'll be on the hook for it for the next useful life of it as well. One of the good highlights, so I'll move on to that, is the last bullet I'll just bring up real quick, because I'll do that first, is the update of the JPA agreement. $20,000 was budgeted to try to go over this gray area of projects versus maintenance and what is useful life, to get some clarity so that we understand clear what are the divisions as to what the city has to be involved in or participate in and what they could recuse themselves on. So some of the highlights for fiscal year 15-16 on the operation and maintenance budget, we'll still be paying, so it's complicated, the SAM-JP, I don't know if anyone's there, well, I know you guys have all read it.
You don't have to go through that.
Okay.
We don't have that.
But just one thing I want to highlight is that with that, the city in its operation and maintenance budget always pays for routine maintenance of its pump stations, of the IPS, and at the treatment plant. And so there's $540,000 budgeted in the separate just operation and maintenance budget. 100 is for repairs to pumps at the pump stations, and the capitalized maintenance as well, that we're paying as well. The increased revenue that is coming on board, there's a treatment plant operator position that will be open, and then there's an additional collections worker position that has been hired for, in addition to the one that they had budgeted this year. So the requested action is staff recommends the City Council to adopt a resolution approving the sewer authority Coastside combined operation, maintenance, and collections and capitalized maintenance projects budgets for fiscal year 15-16. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Mueller?
It's sort of like Groundhog Day. But Alex, thank you. I know you've really worked hard over the years on this same situation. And I think just a comment, our neighbors to the member agencies should really thank the residents of Half Moon Bay for sharing their wastewater bills out there, because that's something. And along that line, I think, I understand by policy we have to approve these and move forward and continue on. But I want to make a comment, two comments here. Number one, General Manager Dixon was here earlier and talked about the water rates. And there was a long time where we in the wastewater industry were not, in City Half Moon Bay, were not increasing our wastewater rates, and really got behind on that fund. And I'm very concerned that we have to be sensitive right now to the fact that if we continue to reduce, which we have to, our water use, it's going to impact our amount of water that is processed through the plant, I believe. And so I'm not quite sure if I'm on the right page there or not.
It's a 4-month average during the winter time.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. So it is the winter time rate then. Remind me, thank you. So, but I still think we have to be aware of our rates out there, and be, cognizant of the fact that there comes a time with our infrastructure that we're going to have to look at continuing to monitor to see whether we do need that. And I would like to definitely, our city manager does a great job with her notes, And I think this would be a very good little highlight to put in there, what we're all sharing with our neighbors and other member agencies, and what it costs to treat wastewater. It's something we'll forget until we don't have where to move it. So anyhow, I think those are a couple of things, and I think our residents need to know that we definitely do participate with our joint powers agreement the way it sits right now with our member agencies and some big projects that are coming down this year. So thank you.
And thank you, staff, for putting this together, and for our SAM representatives for your work on this, keeping your eye on Half and Bay's contribution. We need to make sure that we are representing our constituency and not paying more than our share. Although I get it, it's important. We don't want this SAM project to have any incidences or accidents, because it's an environmental impact for all of us, but we need to be diligent about making sure that we're not paying to do things in Montero and El Granada. The only other thing I would ask is, I know you're doing the recycled water study, that was done. Just be diligent in that we're not, whoever is the vendor for doing this is not just showing slides again that was done years ago, that they're not repeating it, that it's updated. And personally, from before, there really is only one true person that can use recycled water, and that's the golf course. And so I hope you make that a priority, and that there's not a lot of time spent in going up and down and asking all of the people in the flower industry about that, because they made it pretty clear, 6 years ago, that they'd like it an idea, but it was just going to be too temperamental for their plants. So nobody wants to waste good water on the lawn. So I think your biggest customer really, and a goal for recycled water, is to get that water down to the golf courses. That's just my comments on the budget.
So I would like to invite the mayor to come to the next SAM meeting and express those discussions. So the SAM budget is a hot mess. It's just not good in a lot of ways, but it's also because of the JPA, the things on their face, the things Alex pointed out about the budget would make me say, well, no, the project of us is the responsibility of that community. It is not maintenance of the city. However, the language of the JPA, and we need to be thoughtful about where and when we take a stand. I feel on an area or for a project that could have an environmental impact if it were. So we are a project north of our city because that is the right thing to do. It is also costing our community money, which is why the Half Moon Bay representatives to the SAM board allocated some funds to begin looking at the JPA. And I think we need to be thoughtful about when we bring that up, choose the time, place, and projects, and let them see it coming and make our stand. And I think there's an appropriate time and place to do that. We need to be thoughtful about that. Again, by contract, we have to approve the budget. We need this in place because it sets rates for the three communities. The other thing I'll bring up, or two other things. One, when we get our full-time GM, I want to start the budget process discussion of projects well before the standard budget process. When it's 11:45, right, and you got to have it done by 12. The pressure's there, and the JPA does not give us a lot of latitude. I think it's pretty easy. If we're in a conference room, say, well, that doesn't make any sense, we can't pay for that. But the reality of having an overflow or spill changes that, and we're very careful stewards for the environment in that regard. The other thing I want to add is we've had an unexpected change in leadership at SAM, and general manager. And when we have our new SAM GM, and go through our next budget cycle, my starting position, and I think I mentioned this too, my starting position for the next budget is 0 based on the 2014-2015 budget, not in this budget. We need this budget to get through where we're at in the process and to move forward, but my starting point for the next budget is 0% based on the current fiscal year budget, and I think that is not an unreasonable place to start, or if it's unreasonable, it's tough, that's where I'm going to start, and that's, I think, the smart thing to do. So I'll vote to approve this, but I will approach the next budget cycle the way I've described.
Yeah, I want to thank Alex for doing a great job in putting together the budget. I actually think our team of Alex, the city manager, and Councilmember Kowalczyk and myself, and pinch hitting Councilmember Muller, have done a pretty good job at getting some key things into the budget, including money to revisit the JPA, which was a very sensitive subject, the environmental review for the recycled water project, and a new hydraulic analysis. Those things alone, I think, merit a thank you to my fellow Councilmember Kowalczyk and staff for getting that into the budget. It's actually really good stuff. So I do agree that we need to be vigilant going forward. We need a more deliberative budget project. And just be vigilant in general about our shares and being, good stewards for the residents. You all said that, and I totally agree with it. But it does require us to be proactive, and I'm committed to that. I know my team member here is too. So I think maybe we can move into a new era at SAM. Maybe that's too optimistic, but yeah, committed to that. Hallelujah. I move that we adopt the SAM budget for fiscal year 2015-2016.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comment?
Yeah, just brief, I'd like to thank us as a city for the work we've been doing on our infrastructure with our wastewater. And I know there's more to do for the city engineer, but I think we got a brief update with our manholes. It doesn't sound like real pass us through, so.
That's a really good point. The city of Half Moon Bay has been very proactive in going after its infiltration and inflow and doing a level of maintenance that won't result in disastrous financial consequences later. So we need to maintain.
Hi. To our next item on Dante Hall versus Ambo, 14.37 architectural review. And
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the City Council. The purpose of design guidelines are to assist design and also take into account how different designs or additions to homes or new homes actually fit into existing neighborhoods. As you may recall, City Council and Planning Commission meeting on March 25th of 2014. Since then, public hearings about the design year, the Planning Commission reviewed design guidelines and recommended subject of our. But we also have Dave Javit, who is with the M Group, who has been working closely with planning and the Planning Commission on the design guidelines. So we'll have them walk you through the presentation tonight.
Yeah, actually, it would be Dave Javin. He's been principally responsible for drafting these design guidelines. We'll give it to Dave, and then he's going to give it back, presentation back to me to go over some of the recommendations.
Bruce, good evening, council members. As Bruce mentioned and Dante mentioned earlier, we have run through a very thorough process with the Planning Commission, starting back last year. We went through 4 meetings with them and got some very thoughtful feedback, including how to refine the code and make it more user-friendly, including the graphics, and generally making it a more comprehensive document. So I want to commend your commission on giving us great feedback there and making this a very an exciting document that we're very proud of. It does include this, it's a discretionary document, so it's something that does provide guidance generally through the process, as Dante mentioned, to ensure that the overall aesthetics and then it also complements the host of existing documents throughout the city. There's 4 chapters, including an appendix, and I'll cover the chapters here very quickly for you. The introduction, again, outlines the purpose and objectives. It also provides a relationship to pertinent documents, and it also tackles sustainable design guidelines, which we found is a core principle, a behind symbol, so that it really stands out as something that's important. The neighborhood fit and context chapter, it, again, really ensures that any remodels or any new development fits within the character of the neighborhood that it's going in, including preserving view corridors and the like. Building design covers general massing and scale of the building, and ensuring, again, that it not only fits within the community, but it has the general quality elements of good design, including building articulation, the use of materials and colors, lighting, and the placement of parking. We also tackle privacy, and privacy design is an issue, and also secondary dwelling units and how that fits within the overall structure. Landscape design, building off of the conversations here tonight, we thought it was very important in this section to really tap into water preservation, including stormwater management and tapping into the stormwater requirement checklist and using technology that both reduces water and is just kind of smart design in general, and grouping of plants. And this chapter also tackled fencing design. And the appendix, again, as I mentioned, does include all the resources, including sustainable design resources and resources that are available throughout the city and county, including that stormwater checklist I just mentioned, and goes into greater detail about how it's also included as part of this was recommended by the Planning Commission is a design review questionnaire that could be used not only by the applicants, but also city staff and Planning Commission as they review projects, just to make sure all the projects that come in have thoroughly looked through the design guidelines and they have a succinct checklist to make sure that all those items are covered before they come before you for approval. So that was it. I'm going to hand it back to Bruce to take you through the rest. Thank you.
Members. So the next steps are recommended ordinance amendments that are attached to the staff report. You may recall some time ago, the ordinance amendments implement and integrate these design guidelines. What it basically means is it requires the Planning Commission, the director, or the City Council on appeal to make a finding. The Planning Commission or Council the ability to make a finding that they are consistent or give the applicant direction to modify the design to make it more compatible with the design guidelines so they'll fit in the neighborhood context. It will adopt the council resolution that adopts the legislation is to introduce the ordinance amendments implementing the design guidelines. So if you have any...
This was wonderful. I know we had that conversation last year with the Planning Commission for Family Residential Design Guidelines. The way it's laid out, each subject, the site planning and design, how to set back, and especially this, and then pictures of actual homes around here. It just makes the whole process so much easier. I mean, I've seen people come in and out of City Hall and they want to do something, and you spend time with them and they want to do the right thing. And the Planning Commission has heard from them to have this booklet to give to people. So I know it's been a long time coming. I think it's excellent. Council.
I think when you look at planning commissioners all over the country in America, they're almost sometimes like the forgotten middle child. And boy, they have done amazing work. I really and truly, planning commissions work really hard, and I do appreciate them personally very much so. They give us the beginning of something that we can bring it into, and it gives the public the opportunity to have a lot more input into it also. I want to compliment on key components because next Wednesday there will be a major hearing on stormwater requirements in Oakland that I will have to be recused from because we are a permit holder of stormwater permit. But it doesn't hurt to bring these things with you and looking at some of the landscape designs and our grassy swales, and you're all experts on this, but that's where we're going now, buffer zone setbacks and all those good things. So I think it's a great beginning, but I just think again, the planning commission and everyone put a lot of work into this. So.
Councilmember Vice Mayor Qualcheck.
Quick question. Are there any coastal commission implications to publishing this document, and are the guidelines in this consistent with the expectations? Should a submittal follow these guidelines?
These are actually in a different part of the municipal code. They're outside the zoning ordinance, so the historic preservation is. We completely agree that these are consistent and compatible and implement the Coastal Act, because we're getting at all the things that you just mentioned, the water standards, stormwater management strategies, landscaping, sustainable development. Yes, all those do directly.
Great, and I do like the simplicity of it as a guideline. I don't have any critique of that, although I have one suggested change. Technology made the brochure. I like the notoriety, but I believe it's wonderful. I just would like to acknowledge Naomi Patridge under her title, which is Mayor Emeritus, which is what the council designated her at a previous council meeting. Other than that, I think it's great.
Councilmember Reddick. Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. So I'm trying to understand the process a little bit better. So we're adopting guidelines, but then there's an implementation piece?
We adopted the recommendations to adopt the guidelines by resolution, and to codify them, we need to amend the ordinance to tie them to the municipal code. So it's twofold. So the design guidelines are adopted by resolution, and then the ordinance amendments that set up those findings for approval and consistency with these design guidelines are amended into the municipal code.
And will those come back to us?
Yes, they will. They'll have to come back for your, this is the introduction, your adoption. They'll be effective in 30 days. And actually, that we could use them 30 days following the adoption of the ordinance.
Okay. Basically, I think it looks pretty darn good. I would only have one, a project exceeds the 40% square footage requirement, that it come to the planning commission for review and approval, because that can make a big difference, within the neighborhood context, if all the other houses are, basically following the guidelines, and then you have one that's an exception to that. Maybe that might be reviewed by the planning commission, a higher level of review than just the planning director. So maybe if the planning director explains the 40% square footage requirement, would you be willing to do that?
Excuse me, can you point me to what section?
I've lost it actually where it was. So we're talking about standard laws that talk about a house being 40% to make sure that new applications for single-family homes in existing neighborhoods fit in. I was just wondering.
Hopefully this gets at your concern. We didn't amend any of the development regulations in any of the residential zones. So this just gets at architectural compatibility. The base regulations addressing the R1 development, they haven't changed at all. We're not even in that part of the code.
That answers my question, thank you.
And just as a point of information, we're having a mini retreat this weekend with the planning commissioners, and we'll be talking about standards, levels of authority, and what goes to planning commission. And the goal is to get some of those ideas out, to explore some things, and be ready to talk with the council when the planning commission and council have their joint meeting in July.
I do want to say I was very pleased to see the new guidelines for garages, having them, recede into the background. I think that's a really fabulous suggestion, so thanks for that. As well as the guidelines on landscaping, water conserving landscaping, things like that, so.
Council, any more comments?
No, so I guess it's Motion to adopt a council resolution, the single-family residential design guidelines, and adopt an ordinance. Do you have to do two? Yeah, I'm sorry. Introduce an ordinance. Help me out here. I want to make sure we're doing it right here.
Amending Title 14, Building and Construction.
Okay, so I was reading. Okay. Introduce an ordinance amending Title 14, Building and Construction, quote unquote, and Chapter 14.37, Architectural Review and Site and Design Approval to implement the design and guidelines and integrate them into the municipal code. And I was confused with the staff presentation. I apologize. I had it here.
So we have a motion, can I have a second, please?
May I ask the maker of the motion that this motion includes the change suggested to include manufacturer's title?
I would be a fool not to include that.
And so I second.
We have a roll call on this, please.
Councilmember Russ.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Foster.
Yes.
Councilmember Mueller.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Aye. Motion passes. And thank you, staff, for this work. And I know the Planning Commission has their retreat. Would you please tell them thank you very much for this? This was great.
And they really are not the forgotten middle child.
You said it, it's on record. All right, we move to our last item of the evening, and this is the all-important ordinance amending Chapter 3.88 of the Half Moon Bay Municipal Code relating to the regulation of massage businesses. And we will have a report from our attorney.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Today, we're proposing the city modify its current existing massage parlor regulation ordinance set out in the staff report. There have been some recent developments that have allowed local municipalities to regain a measure of control over businesses operating and control over what happens within the jurisdiction. At that same token, as the staff report points out, massage business can be a very wonderful, viable use. I use it all the time for the reasons I sustain, but it also has a dark underbelly, and that dark underbelly takes the form of the sex trade, which is directly tied most often to human trafficking. And so there was a request, and reached out to various cities in San Mateo County. They had successfully implemented a new ordinance for the unincorporated areas, and we had a consistent, uniform regulation across the board, and people could simply move their business 500 yards across a jurisdictional boundary and avoid any enforcement. As was set forth in the report, you can see there were a number of illegal illicit facilities that were operating in San Mateo County, and most recently there was an additional, let's say, task force operation that I will defer here to our wonderful sheriff's lieutenant to fill you a little bit on those details.
Madam Mayor, Council, good evening. Focused on health and safety aspect of the business, not the potential criminal activity. This ordinance gives law enforcement the ability to better enforce crimes such as human trafficking for prostitution in a massage parlor. We have also denied massage applications to persons wanting to open a massage business here in Half Moon Bay who have a very extensive record with prostitution. So with that, I give my full support for this ordinance. It really does give law enforcement the teeth to combat human trafficking and other illegal activities in massage parlors. Are there any questions if you have any?
Thank you. We have no public comment on that. I will add, I know I've read about this happening in San Mateo County, and it's gotten more. So thank you for your work. We're fortunate because of our background checks and with sex trafficking, and it's coming through those areas. So anything to help support you do your job.
The owners of these establishments, who are the pimps or the human traffickers, would kind of wash their hands of things. If we did an operation and we caught someone, we tell them not to do it, but once they go into the room, we can't stop them. This ordinance, we're able to take their existing permit away or the registration away for a year in that facility. So they can't just leave, hand it over to somebody else. It's done for a year. And it really kind of puts the accountability back on the proprietors and the pimps and the human traffickers.
No questions? Entertain motion?
I move to introduce the ordinance amending chapter 3.88 for massage establishments and technicians of the Half Moon Bay Municipal Code.
It's been moved and seconded, we can have a voice vote on this. All in favor of this ordinance, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes completely. Thank you, and we're now adjourned.
You know, every time I mean, if you bring them in, well, it's a good idea to, like, say, get a law or something, like, nobody should have opinions on it, it's wrong, right? Yeah.